So I wanted to go through a few things that you may want to run on a weekly basis at least to kind of check to make sure that everything is being done properly and make sure that you're not getting behind on anything. I'm not going to go through every single report. I'm just going to kind of mention them, but there are a few things that I want to kind of point out. The first thing is we're going to go to invoicing, locate invoice, and I'm going to view open invoices. And over here on the right, I'm going to tell it that I want to view part sales. And what I'm looking at here are invoices that have two invoice numbers on them. They are extremely important that we get those gone. We do not want to void them. They are customer special orders that the customer has actually come to pick up, but the person that cashed them out did not cash the invoice out. So they didn't pay the invoice. And so that invoice is sitting there with parts that were physically delivered to the customer, but they didn't actually get paid. And therefore, it's possible the customer got the part and didn't pay for it at all. Or it's possible that the part did get delivered to the customer, but because the invoice hasn't gotten cashed out, it's still on our books. And because it's in an open state, I could select this invoice and void it, and the entire process would be negated because I'd end up having parts that did get delivered, but now the proof that they got delivered has disappeared. So those are a few things that you want to look at and make sure that you don't have an excessive number of open part sales. Every day the sales reps should come in and view their list by selecting themselves here in the created by, and make sure that they void out any open purchase orders or open invoices that are there that they may have created the day before but forgot to, or maybe the customer walked out and they ended up not doing anything, but they need to get them out and keep this list as clear as possible. Another thing you want to look at are open service tickets. So service tickets are the only thing that actually has two lives. It has the life of being open, which means that the support or the service department has not gotten to it yet, and it will move to the completed state once they have finished it. So looking at this particular record, I can see that there are 33 open purchase or open service tickets, which means that I should be able to go back to the shop and see 33 units sitting back there that need to be repaired. And if I go to the complete, we've got 105 units that again should be back in the shop that we're waiting on the customers to come pick up. So have we called the customer? Are we getting those things taken care of? Why are they still open? So these are all things that we need to kind of keep up with and make sure that we're, not getting out of control. Another thing I want to do is I want to go to accounting, payables, and we're going to locate orders. And something specific to payables is I want to look at part sales that are posted and received. Once a purchase order has been received, it should eventually get paid. So if I'm looking at open, posted, and received, I'm going to see, and in this particular case, you can see there's 348 unpaid purchase orders. Is that reasonable? Or do we really have that many that haven't been paid? And if the answer is yes, that's fine. But we really want to make sure this number doesn't get out of control, because what that signals us to is that we are not paying the purchase orders through the purchasing section. Someone's writing checks out of the checkbook, and they're not doing it through purchasing, so we have no proof of which POs we paid. And we still have the problem of those POs sitting there waiting to get paid. Another thing while we're in payables is I'm going to come down here to the view sold units report. This actually is going to give me a list of units that we have sold, but we haven't paid them off yet. Is this list reasonable? Are there things on here that should have been paid or that shouldn't be on this list anymore? And if so, let's go get those taken care of on the purchase order. So that kind of helps us keep up with the purchase order. Now, the P&L and the balance sheet are two very good reports to run to keep up with the data or the week-to-week stuff, month-to-month stuff, to make sure. And what we're really looking for on those are accounts that are just completely skewed. what's on the report that is way out of whack, that doesn't look normal. It's possible that someone has done a manual GL hit somewhere and caused the thing to get out of balance. And then watching the video on the working with the GL in the accountant section of the Learning Center will help you to see how to use that locate control to research problems and try to drill in on what actually caused the problem in the first place. So another thing that we want to look at is in the report section. If we go to our inventory, there is a handy report down here for adjusted inventory, which I highly recommend putting on your favorites. But this is a report that, for example, I can go and look at last month and tell it I want to look at manual adjustments, and this will give me a list of parts that got adjusted out of the system or into the system manually. If this list is big, that means that I have a major inventory problem, because my people are adjusting inventory in and out through the manual adjustments instead of doing it through selling and receiving purchase orders. So a perfect dealership, this list would not have anything on it. This particular dealership, they apparently do a very good job of managing their inventory. Another thing are your Lizzy adjustments from here. This will actually show me all of the parts that got sold out of the system, and they click the red button on the invoice to adjust inventory really quick. So, all of these types of things are what you need to be paying attention to make sure that we aren't getting things, completely out of whack. Now, if I go back over here to invoicing and we go down here to the service department and hit locate service ticket, we can get to that same screen we were looking at for the service tickets. So now what I'm looking at are open service tickets. And over here on the right, you'll notice that instead of having part sale, we've got service, and then our completed. So again, the completed tickets are tickets that are completed that haven't been picked up. But that's just a quicker way to get there, because doing it from service, it'll automatically select the service option for you. So that's just a few things that you really want to pay attention to and stay on top of, to make sure that at least the basic stuff that needs to be getting done through the system is in fact getting done. One last thing is in the checking account. When you view your register, when's the last time the register was reconciled? If it's been a long time since it was reconciled, then that kind of signals to me that we probably are missing a lot of entries in the checkbook that should be in there that aren't, which means that your balance sheet and your profit and loss statement are all going to be out of whack, because they're not going to have the appropriate stuff on them, because it never got recorded in the checking account to begin with. So just looking at the basics of the system, you should be able to get a pretty good idea as to whether the company is running and things are being recorded in the system appropriately.